Hi friends! Welcome back to my channel. My name is Lauren, you may also call me Lo, and today's video is my winter TBR. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you're doing well, and let's get on into it. So as far as my fall TBR goes, I've actually done remarkably well on reading those books. The 3 months that I have to read my fall TBR are October, November, December. As I film this, it is late November, and I only have 2 books left to read, which means that I'll definitely A, get all of them read, and B, I'll be able to start my winter TBR in December, which I'm really excited about. So the 2 books I have left to read on my fall TBR are The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. I actually have started this, but I've only read a couple of chapters, and I ended up having to put it down because I'm currently working on a vlog for a different book, so I will resume this probably in December. And the other one is The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas, and I'm really excited to read this book. It's supposed to be somewhat reminiscent of Mexican Gothic, which was also on my fall TBR. So I am very excited to get to this, and this book is also a Goodreads Choice Awards nominee for the horror category, so another reason to be very excited to read it. So once I finish these 2, I will be able to start on my winter TBR, which I am so excited about. So like I mentioned, it's late November right now, and the first round of Goodreads Choice Awards nominees has just come out, and I noticed in the fantasy category specifically that there were a lot of books that I own and haven't read yet, and I ended up picking all of those for this TBR. And that was a total of 6 books, and then I just chose 4 more that I was really excited to read. For me, winter is really a time where I want to read a lot of high fantasy books, so all of these books are fantasy. So without further ado, the first book on my winter TBR is When Women Were Dragons by Kelly Barnhill. The first 6 books I'm going to talk about are those Goodreads Choice Awards nominees, and this one is on that list. I actually pre-ordered this. It sounded so good to me, and I never got to it. And I've honestly seen very few reviews of this, and they've been quite mixed. So we'll see what side I land on, but I'm still really excited to read this. I haven't read a book with dragons in a very long time, and I'm kind of feeling the urge. So this book follows Alex Green, who is a young girl in a world much like ours, except for its most seminal event, the mass dragoning of 1955. When hundreds of thousands of ordinary wives and mothers sprouted wings, scales, and talons, left a trail of fiery destruction in their paths, and took to the skies. Was it their choice? What will become of those left behind? Why did Alex's beloved Aunt Marla transform, but Alex's mother did not? No one knows. It's a taboo to speak of it. Forced into silence, Alex nevertheless must face the consequences of this astonishing event. A mother more protective than ever, an absentee father, their upsetting insistence that her aunt never even existed, and watching her beloved cousin Beatrice become dangerously obsessed with the forbidden. I can't confirm this because I haven't read the book yet, but I feel like this is kind of a feminist fantasy book, and I'm very excited about it. Like, it sounds great. I have not read a Kelly Barnhill book before. It looks like she's written The Girl Who Drank the Moon, which is a book I have never heard of. So if you love Kelly Barnhill, let me know. If you recommend this book, let me know, and I will move on to the next one. The next book I have a beautiful edition of because I am doing the Fairy Loot adult subscription, and this book came in recently, and it's one that I've heard really good things about. So I am so excited to be including it on this TBR, and that is The Book Eaters by Sunyi Dean. This book, first of all, like, it's got this kind of like papery, matte look to it, and then all the writing is shiny. I don't know what that's called. And it's just super gorgeous. And the tagline for this one says, "Once there was a mother who fed on stories and would do anything to survive." Hidden across England and Scotland live 6 old book eater families. The last of their lines, they exist on the fringes of society and subsist on a diet of stories and legends. Children are rare and their numbers have dwindled, so when Devon Fairweather's second child is born, a dreaded mind-eater, a perversion of her own kind who consumes not stories but the minds and souls of humans. She flees before he can be turned into a weapon for the family, or worse. Living among humans and finding prey for her son, Devon seeks a cure for his hunger. But time is running out, for her family wants her back, and with every soul her son consumes, he loses a little more of himself. Kind of has like spooky vibes, to be honest, but I'm very excited about it. It sounds kind of like somewhat gothic, and it just sounds really good. And I think Kayla read this and absolutely loved it, if I'm not mistaken. The next book is one of the first Book of the Month books I ever got, and I still haven't read it, so I am so happy that it's on this list and I'll finally get it out of the way. Which is not to say that I don't think I'll like it, but it's been sitting on my shelf for almost a year now. And that is Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel. This one, I honestly don't know that much about. I picked it because it was a fantasy book and the other ones didn't seem super interesting to me. So I'm excited to finally get to this one. I tried not to put the starts of series as much as possible on this list. There definitely are a couple, and I don't know if this is a series or a standalone book, but regardless. So begins Kaikeyi's story. The only daughter of the kingdom of Kekaya, she is raised on tales of the gods, how they churned the vast ocean to obtain the nectar of immortality, how they vanquish evil and ensure the land of Bharat prospers, and how they offer powerful boons to the worthy. Yet she watches as her father unceremoniously banishes her mother, listens as her own worth is reduced to the marriage alliance she can secure, and when she calls upon the gods for help, they never seem to hear. Desperate for independence, she turns to the texts she once read with her mother and discovers a magic that is hers alone. With it, Kaikeyi transforms herself from an overlooked princess into a warrior, a diplomat, and a most favored queen. This book is quite chunky. Oh, it's actually not that bad. For some reason, hardcover books look way longer than they actually are. So this one's like 470-ish pages, which isn't that bad. Once things get over 500, I get intimidated. This is very close, but we'll see. I'm excited to try it, and there's probably a good reason that it's a Goodreads Choice Awards nominee. Next is a book that I've been thinking about picking up for a very long time, so I needed the push, and this is another Book of the Month book, and that is The River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. I don't know if this is a debut, is it? So I don't know what other book Rebecca Ross has written, but I've heard great things about this book. I am very, very excited to pick it up. It sounds very, I don't know if whimsical is the right word, but it's got like a music theme, I know, and it just sounds great. Wow. This is a super long summary. It starts with a letter and an ominous journey across dark waters. 10 years after being sent away to the mainland to become a bard, Jack Tamerlane is supposed to come home to Cadence. But his return is not a joyous one. Girls are going missing from the island, and Adara, future leader of the clan, believes Jack is the only one who can help find them. Enchantments run deep on Cadence, gossip is carried by the wind, plaid shawls can be as strong as armor, and the smallest cut of a knife can instill unfathomable fear. The elemental spirits that dwell in every breath of air, splash of water, blade of grass, and flicker of fire find mirth in the lives of the humans. Kidnapping Tamerlane girls is a step too far, though, and it is only through a bard's music that the intangible spirits can be summoned to explain where the girls are. Once childhood enemies, now unwilling partners, Jack and Adara must put aside their past rivalry to entice the spirits to return the girls. Yet as they prepare the songs, another enemy threatens the horizon. The Brecken clan of the West, sworn enemies of the Tamerlanes, open communications for the first time in centuries. The timing is suspicious. But the Breckans, who have always been more in tune with the spirits, may hold another key that will help Jack and Adara. Facing the unknown from two sides, the bard and the heiress begin to see more in each other than they first realized. But as they get closer to uncovering where the girls are, and why they were taken in the first place, it becomes apparent the trouble with the spirits is far more sinister than they expected. An older, darker secret about Cadence lurks beneath the surface, threatening to undo them all, and no harp song may be strong enough to stop it. So that is that. I feel like everyone I've seen who's read this has really loved it, so I have high hopes. Next is literally the most anticipated book for me of the entire year, and the fact that I haven't read it is absolutely ridiculous, and we are going to change that. If you can guess what it is, leave a comment down below. And that is Babel by R.F. Kuang. I have not read the Poppy War series, which is frankly embarrassing, but I've heard such great things about this, and it's a standalone, so I think I am going to start with this. I have the Poppy War on my bookshelves, and I do plan to read it, and I know in my heart that I'm absolutely going to love that book, but it's the start of a trilogy, and I need to get through some series, so this will be the first R.F. Kuang book that I read. Once again, this is a super beautiful edition. It's the Fairy Loot edition, and it's just absolutely stunning. And it makes me that much more excited to read the book. Unlike A River Enchanted, this is an extremely short summary that honestly doesn't give me a great idea of what the book is about. And I feel like people in general have had a hard time explaining what this book is about. So I feel like I'll just discover it as I read it, and I don't really have a huge problem with that. An act of translation is always an act of betrayal. Oxford, 1836, the city of dreaming spires. It is the center of all knowledge and progress in the world. And at its heart is Babel, Oxford University's prestigious Royal Institute of Translation, the tower from which all power of the empire flows. Orphaned in Canton and brought to England by a mysterious guardian, Robin Swift thought Babel a paradise, until it became a prison. But can a student stand against an empire? I'm like semi-scared of this TBR because the books are really long, but we're still gonna try to make it work. I read my fall TBR so quickly, so I'm hoping it'll be the same for this one, but these are all chunky fantasy books, so I've never been more intimidated, to be honest. This one's 542, so we're over 500 with this one. One more Goodreads Choice nominee, and this one I haven't hauled yet, but it is Thistlefoot by Jenna Rose Nethercott. And I feel like when I was choosing my book of the month books, the month that I chose this one, I looked at Goodreads reviews for basically ARC reviews for this book, and they were all really good. So I ended up picking it up, and I was super happy to see it as a Goodreads Choice nominee because I've literally never heard anyone talk about this. So maybe it won't make it to the second round, but regardless, I'm pretty excited to pick this one up. From the cover, it gives fairy tale vibes, and I love that. The Yaga siblings, Bellatine, a young woodworker, and Isaac, a wayfaring street performer and con artist, have been estranged since childhood, separated both by resentment and by wide miles of American highway. But when called to receive a mysterious inheritance, the siblings are reunited, only to discover that their bequest isn't land or money, but something far stranger, a sentient house on chicken legs. Thistlefoot, the house is called, has arrived from the Yaga's ancestral home in Eastern Europe, but not alone. A sinister figure, known only as the Long Shadow Man, has stalked it across continents, bearing violent secrets from the past, fiery memories that have hidden in Isaac and Bellatine's blood for generations, memories that have begun to awaken. As the Yaga siblings embark with Thistlefoot on a cross-country theater tour, the Long Shadow Man follows in relentless pursuit, as do the specters of history, including the forgotten fate of a small shtetl? I'm going to put that word on the screen because frankly I have never seen this word in my life. And the house's original inhabitant, Baba Yaga. Ultimately, time, magic, and legacy must collide, erupting in a powerful conflagration to determine who gets to remember the past and craft a new future. So that's Thistlefoot. I think I've never read that summary before. I genuinely did not know the premise of this book, but we'll see how I like it. Next are the 4 books that I just chose that aren't Goodreads Choice nominees. It was really, really hard to pick. I have a lot of fantasy books that I need to get to and that I'm really excited about. So the first one is a sequel for a fantasy series that I started in 2022 and never continued, embarrassingly. and that is Jade War by Fonda Lee. I read Jade City and I absolutely loved it. I gave it 4.5 stars. The reason that I haven't continued is only that these books are really long and I've been scared. So this is 584. A chunker, but I know in my heart that this is going to be worth it. I feel that this will be a 5-star book. I don't want to jinx myself, but like everyone has given this 5 stars, so why wouldn't I? I wasn't going to read the summary, but I just read it and it seems like it doesn't really give much away. So I am, in fact, going to read it. The Call family is locked in a violent feud for control of the capital of Kikon and the supply of magical jade that endows honorable greenbone warriors with supernatural abilities. Beyond Kikon's borders, war is brewing. Powerful foreign governments and mercenary criminal kingpins alike turn their eyes to the island nation and their most prized resource. Faced with threats on all sides, the Call family must put honor aside and do whatever it takes to ensure their own survival and that of all the greenbones of Kikon. So this series takes place on this island called Kikon, which probably is obvious. And we're basically following this family who controls like half of this city as they war with another family that controls the other half of the city. And the first book I really enjoyed, but it did kind of feel like it was setting up the rest of the story. So there wasn't that much action. It really felt like setup. It was very good, don't get me wrong. But it was hard to give it 5 stars because it just didn't feel like a lot was happening yet. So this one I think will like start to really pick up the story, and I have a lot of confidence that I'll really, really like it. So I had to put it on the TBR. I try not to put sequels on my TBRs, but I need more motivation, I think, to pick this up. Next is a book that I chose because I have on my channel an ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses summary series where I basically like summarize in depth every single book in that series so that people can like refresh their memories if they need to. And that series has done really well on my channel, and I'm hoping to start another summary series. And I decided that that series will be for this series, which I don't know what the series is called. It says a Blood and Ash novel, so I guess a Blood and Ash series. And this is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout, the first book in that series. I believe the series is not finished yet. It might be. Genuinely, I have no idea because I haven't like entered this world yet. But on the flap here, it says that it is perfect for fans of Sarah J. Maas. So I think it'll be a good one to start summarizing. And I'm also just so excited to read it. So, a maiden, chosen from birth to usher in a new era, Poppy's life has never been her own. The life of the maiden is solitary, never to be touched, never to be looked upon, never to be spoken to, never to experience pleasure. Waiting for the day of her ascension, she would rather be with the guards, fighting back the evil that took her family, than preparing to be found worthy by the gods. But the choice has never been hers. A duty. The entire kingdom's future rests on Poppy's shoulders, something she's not even quite sure she wants for herself. Because a maiden has a heart, and a soul, and longing, and when Hawk, a golden-eyed guard, honor-bound to ensure her ascension, enters her life, destiny and duty become tangled with desire and need. He incites her anger, makes her question everything she believes in, and tempts her with the forbidden. A kingdom. Forsaken by the gods and feared by mortals, a fallen kingdom is rising once more, determined to take back what they believe is theirs through violence and vengeance. And as the shadow of those cursed draws closer, the line between what is forbidden and what is right becomes blurred. Poppy is not only on the verge of losing her heart and being found unworthy of the gods, but also her life, when every blood-soaked thread that holds her world together begins to unravel. 2 more books. The first book is a book that I DNF'd. I tried to listen to it and I just wasn't enjoying myself, but I do think that reading it physically might be better. And it is a book that in general I really, really, really want to love because so many people absolutely love it. So we're going to try again. and that is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. So I have read the Grisha trilogy, the first 3 books. I haven't continued that series because I thought it was kind of just okay. I gave all of the books 3 stars. But this is an adult book, so I think it might go better. Again, I really, really, really want to love this book. That's probably pretty obvious by now, so I am going to give it a second shot. First of all, the cover's gorgeous. The cover of Hellbent, I think, the second book, is also gorgeous. And I just want to be a part of this. I really, really want to like this. So, Galaxy Alex Stern is the most unlikely member of Yale's freshman class. Raised in the Los Angeles hinterlands by a hippie mom, Alex dropped out of school early and into a world of shady drug dealer boyfriends, dead-end jobs, and much, much worse. In fact, by age 20, she is the sole survivor of a horrific, unsolved multiple homicide. Some might say she's thrown her life away, but at her hospital bed, Alex is offered a second chance to attend one of the world's most prestigious universities on a full ride. What's the catch and why her? Still searching for answers, Alex arrives in New Haven, tasked by her mysterious benefactors with monitoring the activities of Yale's secret societies. Their 8 windowless tombs are the well-known haunts of the rich and powerful, from high-ranking politicos to Wall Street's biggest players. But their occult activities are more sinister and more extraordinary than any paranoid imagination might conceive. They tamper with forbidden magic, they raise the dead, and sometimes they prey on the living. Because I've DNF'd this, I needed an extra push to read it, so that's why it's on this TBR. We'll see if I love it. I really, again, really, really, really want to. And last but not least, we have another Book of the Month book. This one, again, I've just had it for a really long time. I really, really want to read it finally, and that is The Keeper of Night by Kylie Lee Baker. Half British Reaper, half Japanese Shinigami, Ren Scarborough has been collecting souls in the London streets for centuries. Expected to obey the harsh hierarchy of the Reapers, who despise her due to her mysterious mother and even more mysterious Shinigami powers, Ren conceals her emotions and avoids her tormentors as best as she can. When her failure to control her developing Shinigami abilities drives Ren out of London, she flees to Japan in search of the acceptance she's never gotten from her fellow Reapers. Accompanied by her younger brother, the only being on Earth to care for her, Ren enters Yomi, the Japanese underworld, to serve the goddess of death, only to learn that there, too, she must prove herself worthy. Determined to earn respect, Ren accepts an impossible task: find and eliminate 3 dangerous yokai demons. With help from her brother and a new ally who might be less than trustworthy, Ren will learn how far she'll go to claim her place at Death's side. I want to say this is literally the only YA book on this list. I feel like I've kind of fallen out of YA and more toward adult, especially recently, but this one's on my list and I do want to get to it, so we'll see how I like it. I definitely feel like I might not like it as much because sometimes YA tropes just aren't for me, but we'll see. I do want to get to this eventually, and the time is right. So that concludes my winter TBR. I am so excited to read all of these books and let you know what I think about them throughout winter, and I'll get to start some in December. So I am very, very excited about that. If you're new to my channel, please consider liking this video and subscribing. I put 1 bookish video out every week, sometimes 2, if I can pull it off. If you're still here, thank you so much for being here. I always really appreciate it, and I will see you next time.